Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our Tuesday, May 19th, our regular council meeting. I'd like to remind everyone this is being live streamed on our YouTube channel, and we're ready to go here. So I will, do we got any announcements? Deputy Mayor Hardy?
This is a little bit ahead of schedule, but we aren't here next week. So I'd like to say congratulations to the 2026 graduating class of Drumheller Valley Secondary School. The ceremony is on May 30th of this year. To the graduates, you stay curious, stay kind, and face every challenge knowing there is a lesson to be found.
Yeah, exciting time for them. Thanks. Can I get someone next? Councillor Hanson?
Well, we're just about here. The 28th annual Boogie in the Badlands Car Show is being proudly presented by the Valley Cruisers Car Club on May 23rd. Hopefully you got everything shined up and ready to go. Head downtown this Saturday at 10 a.m. to check out the shiny cars and trucks and the rusty ones. Live music, School of Rock, the Dust Collectors, Mark Lorenz, Queen of the Badlands Pinup Contest, and that's quite interesting. Seb's Battle of the Techs. They will be having a contest of tearing the motor apart and putting it back together again and then have it run. And of course, specialty vendors and farmers market. Hope to see you all down there, and it's going to be a good one. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Looks like the weather's going to be good too, so should be something to look forward to. Councillor Kalafa.
Well, speaking of cars, the province is obviously looking out the window, has started work again on the Gordon Taylor Bridge. Hopefully we'll be wrapping up by Friday, May 22nd, and during that time, lane is going to be restricted to one-way alternating traffic again. And please watch the flaggers and drive with caution.
Yeah, that's only till May, not August, so it should be good this year. Next, Councillor Zersky.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just want to remind everyone that May 25th to 29th, next week, is Alberta Rural Health Week. The rural healthcare providers are essential to the strength and well-being of our communities. Each day they bring care closer to home, supporting patients across distances, building meaningful relationships, and ensuring that individuals and families can access the care they need where they live. Residents are encouraged to recognize and celebrate the individuals and teams who bring care closer to home and contribute to a strong future for rural health care. So thank your rural health professional if you get a chance next week.
All right, thank you for that. Councillor McNeil.
Thank you. Well, last week I announced a hearing session, an information session that is scheduled for Tuesday, May 26th. Well, since then, I have learned that there are two sessions taking place. So the first event is at the Legion at 12:30 p.m. It's part of the Seniors Lunch and Learn. And then a very similar session is taking place at the Pioneer Trail Center at 2:30 p.m. on May 26th.
Thank you for that. Good to know. All right, myself, I'd like to, on behalf of council and administration, we'd like to extend our appreciation to our firefighters, our municipal enforcement stars, and the RCMP for their response on Friday in East Cooley. We had a tragic incident there, and it was deeply impacted our whole valley and our neighbors in East Cooley, and we thank you all for your courageous efforts on this rescue of this individual. And to his family, we want to express our deepest condolences. And that'll close that part, our announcements off there. Okay. So let's go to our adoption of the minutes, our 4.1. Can I get, what's that? Oh, adopts our agenda first. First that one. Okay, thank you. Can I get someone to adopt the agenda?
Your,
Counselor McNeil?
sorry, your worship,
Oh,
we don't have any additional, items for the agenda as administration. However, I do want to point out that we do have an addition to the supplemental material being presented to item 7.1.4, on the senior supportive living advocacy update. So an addition of an appendix D will be added to the agenda package following this meeting.
okay, thank you, Mrs. Campbell. All right. Can I get a motion? Counselor McNeil?
Thank you. I move that council adopts the agenda for the May 5th, 2026 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. Can I second it? Get a seconder. Counselor Miller, thank you for that. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, then on to our adopt our minutes from the May 5th regular council meeting. Counselor Miller,
I move the council approves the meetings for the May 5th, 2026 regular council meeting as presented.
thank you for that. Get a seconder. Counselor Kalafa, thank you. All right, and then we got our meetings. We got a bunch of minutes, see? All right, so it's minutes for the May 12th Committee of the Whole meeting.
Point of order, we need to vote on that last one.
Oh, didn't, sorry. Okay, we got our second. Okay, all in favor then for, and this is for our regular meeting on May 5th. Okay, so all in favor, carried. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me straight up there. All right, so now we're the minutes for May 12th, Committee of the Whole. Can I get someone to adopt? Okay, Deputy Mayor Hardy.
I'll move that council approves the minutes for the May 12th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented.
Okay, thank you for that. Seconder, Councilor Miller, thank you. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right, so now we got our MPC, our Municipal Planning Commission is at 5.1. So we got our regular meeting minutes from January 15th, and I guess we do that one first, and then we'll do the second one. Do them both together? Okay. All right, so we can do those together then. All right. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hardy.
I move that council accepts the Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes for the January 15th, 2026 and the January 29th, 2026 regular meetings as information.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, a seconder. Councillor Hanson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, so now we got our Drumheller and District Solid Waste regular meeting minutes from February 19th, 2026. Can I get a motion? Councillor Kalafa?
I'll move the council accepts the Drumheller and District Solid Waste Management Association meeting minutes from February 19th, 2026, regular meeting as information.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Miller, thank you. All right, all in favor? Okay, all in favor, motion carried. Thank you. All right, one to go. Now, Valley Bus Society, March 11th, regular meeting minutes. Councillor McNeil.
Yes, I move that council accepts the Valley Bus Society meeting minutes for the March 11th, 2026 regular meeting as information.
Okay, thank you for that. Seconder, Councillor Hanson. And all in favor? All in favor, motion carried. Thank you. All right, so now we're on to our delegation. So it'll be first our Palliser Airshed Society.
Your worship, just before we get kicked off with our delegations, I do want to take this opportunity to mention our procedural bylaw and just highlight some of the processes that we do have in place for delegation requests. We don't hear too many of them often from them, but I know that's something that this council does want to see and encourage as we move forward. So just a few highlights on our delegation process for those listening. So any individual, group, or organization that wishes to appear before council or the committee of the whole is able to apply to be a delegation to council. Um, there is a 14-day prior notice that is required. The process is available and published on our website as far as applying to be a delegation. Delegations are scheduled at the discretion of the CAO and the mayor in consideration of its relevance, timeliness, and appropriateness of the subject matter. As well, delegations shall be allotted a maximum of 10 minutes to present unless otherwise approved by the chair. This is something that we haven't started, we're just getting started on doing now because we're finding that our meetings unfortunately are going late into the evening and we're coming up on actually our maximum time limit this last few meetings. So we are going to be instituting this moving forward. If there is more than 10 minutes that's required for a presentation, that would be at the discretion of the mayor as the chair of the meeting. Following the presentation and any associated supporting materials will be accepted as information by council. And if there is any additional actions to be happening from that, could be a motion to accept as information and to bring back to council with a recommendation from administration. I also wanted to point out that the chair, being the mayor, may end a presentation by a delegation if, in their opinion, the delegation is disrespectful, repeats arguments already made, or breaches meeting decorum. And the last thing I wanted to point out is when we do have participants or just viewers attending meetings, if they are not scheduled as a delegation, while in attendance at a council meeting, the public must maintain order, decorum, and quiet for the duration and shall not approach or address council without prior permission being granted by the chair, being the mayor, or otherwise disturb or interrupt the proceedings of council. So with that, I will pass it off to our infrastructure services lead. Thank you, Caleb.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and those watching. My name is Caleb Neufeld. I am the manager of capital assets for the town. I'm acting director for this week for infrastructure services. And it is my pleasure to introduce Lorna Morishita, who is the executive director for the Palliser Airshed Society. The Palliser Airshed Society was established in spring of 2003 to monitor the ambient air quality in southeast Alberta. They currently maintain 4 continuous monitoring sites in Medicine Hat, Brooks, Hanna, and Raymond, as well as 16 passive sampling sites and over 20 microsensors distributed throughout the airshed. Lorna today is here to present to you, and they're also interested in proposing to council the introduction of ambient air monitoring and the air quality health index in Drumheller with the addition of an air monitoring station. With that, I will turn it over to Lorna.
Thank you very much. Like you said, my name's Lorna Morishita. I'm with the Palliser Airshed Society. I don't know, maybe quick show of hands. Anybody know what the air quality is in Alberta today? Anywhere in Alberta? Do you think you could find it? Esther, thank you. How would you find the air quality if you were looking? Does anyone?
Through the chair, I actually have an amazing Apple Watch that tells me what the air quality is, along with the temperature, the wind speed, and a few other things currently.
And the Apple Watch will tell you the air quality, but they might not tell you where it's getting measured. It might be extrapolated from other data. So what we do in Alberta is, I should advance my slides, is we monitor the air at all the larger communities, definitely all the cities just about, have air monitoring, but Drumheller does not, and I'm interested in adding it in here. If you look across the province, you can see there's 10 air sheds. The colored areas where the air shed exists, Drumheller's just in that little gray zone, a municipality just outside the special areas. We have all the special areas in our airshed. Your closest station would be at Hannah. So what we do is we collect and report ambient air quality. It goes right into servers from the province, and from there it would go into the federal databases, and it would show up on weather apps with real-time information. So Environment and Climate Change Canada takes our data, they use it for forecasting, and we get air quality. But not every place is measured, but every place gets a pseudo air quality. We audit and maintain all the equipment, which means we're driving around out there monthly, making sure everything works well. Like I said, we report it to the province, but another thing we do is we try to educate the public on air quality. And by education, we go to schools, we do presentations like this through municipalities within our region. This is my first time presenting outside the region. Like, we could throw a rock and get it from our border, but we're not in Drumheller. So how it works is we look at all the pollutants in an area. Drumheller isn't necessarily a big polluting area. What puts it on the list of an air quality gap would be there is oil and gas surrounding it, but also the river valley might present some interesting things about how the air might stagnate or stay within the river valley. So we're really curious to see how that might be. So what we do is we put out stations. They measure 4 main pollutants: PM 2.5, which is smoke, NOx from like car exhaust and heating. We also in Alberta, different than other regions, we measure SO2. That's the nature of some of the businesses that we have around us. And then ground level ozone. It's often forgotten. It's not measured very much because it's a pollutant that's made from other things in the air, oxides in the air. Today, I would guess that there might be more ground level ozone than you might think. On a relatively calm, sunny day, it'll be converting any oxides in the air, whether it's fumes from a gas tank or exhaust from a car, and it'll be turning that into ground level ozone that gets into your lungs. So that's a pollutant that gets forgotten. It's very high in the summertime in southern Alberta, and it might get to a case where if you're at an at-risk group, you might be affected. So on a sunny, clear day, you might ask yourself, oh, I have asthma, but my breathing's funny. There's no wildfire smoke. I can't smell anything. It's probably ground level ozone. So we express air quality through the Air Quality Health Index. It's a pretty simple scale, 1 to 10. 10 plus would be a super smoky day. So we try to do it in colors. Blue says it's probably good for everyone. Yellow are days, where we might get into a moderate, which means people might be affected, and then red, usually everyone is affected, and we need to think about changing our behavior and whether we should be outside. The air quality is divided up further because air quality for people and how it affects them, it's very personal. So if you're elderly, your lungs are a little bit older, you don't breathe, you can't get as much air into your lungs. If you're really young, you breathe more and your lungs are developing, so you're also affected. If you have any underlying health conditions, you might be affected. So you'll see on your phone, you'll get warnings when it's going to go to red, but there's a significant population that's affected in that mid-range. And that might be a day where they walk, don't run, where they maybe stay outside for less than an hour at a time. If you're a worker, you really think about outside working and stuff like that. But the general population is different, and that's kind of, you'll see that on your, you will only, when it gets to 7 is when you'll get a warning on your phone. Air quality in Alberta is really good for the most part. On a scale of 0 to 100, you can see the AQHI is blue most of the time, which means it's good. You get into that yellow range, you'll see that if you have a close look there, it mostly happens in cities. So they have more more mobile pollutants or non-point source emitting pollutants. So on cold days, they might get trapped from car exhaust or inversions or different things like that. So you'll see that there. And then you'll see wildfire smoke obviously affecting. So down in southeast Alberta, not as much. We're in the bottom half of the chart. And then in some areas that are really far to the west, not as prone to getting those northern winds bringing the smoke down. They kind of get cut off and it goes right by them. So Lethbridge is a pretty good air quality space. This is our network map. So when you look at it, you can see Drumheller is on our map, but not served by our map. So we have the passives that was talked about in our introduction. The purple airs are basically just smoke monitors. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Drumheller has one on this building, and it was given to you by the province. So on smoky days, you can watch it on purpleair.com and see real time. It's reporting every 10 minutes. But it'll only tell you for smoke. Okay, so PM 2.5. Our continuous stations are at Hannah is the closest one to you guys. It would be pretty indicative. Also, if you watch continuous monitoring from Edmonton and Red Deer, you kind of might see what's coming here depending on wind direction. The odd time we do get Saskatchewan wind fires coming getting us from the other side, but the Hannah one will tell you that first. And then we have Brooks, which is where I was born and raised, Medicine Hat, and then we have one way at the south in Raymond. This is typically what a trailer looks like, just so you guys know. We would do something like this. They're usually a plain ATCO industrial trailer, a whole bunch of equipment inside, stuff sticking out the roof to bring the air samples in, as well as we have to take meteorological data, wind speed, direction, temperature, and then of course solar radiation. That's how we kind of guess on the ground level ozone what's going to happen. And then we do try to decorate them like local art contests or something like that. So it's not just a industrial building, because we'd like it in a community, in a park or something. We do have some portables. I won't worry about that today. Some passives. What I did want to talk to a little bit about is how it would get paid for. So Palliser is non-for-profit. We're funded by the province, by industry, and by municipalities that join as members. So the province covers about 60%. And that 60% comes from mostly operating those community stations. The rest of the stuff, the outreach, extra things that we need, like insurance and all that stuff, we get that from our members. So our members are primarily emitters, oil and gas, fertilizer. I think we have insulation. We have potato drying facilities, all different emitters. Join, as well as municipalities. And then we have a lot of NGOs. So the Alberta Energy Regulator is a member, Alberta Health, and Alberta Environment also are on our boards. And the thing I want you guys to think about is we could put a trailer anywhere in Drumheller with your discretion. Hopefully on town land is where we'd like to put it. And we would pay for the operating cost and ask the province to help us. We'd ask you to join as a member. It would be nice. You can join as a member through in-kind. Maybe you pay for the electricity, which might be, you know, a few $100s a month or something like that. Or maybe you join by being a member. Your guys' membership would be about $800 a month. And I have way more slides, but I only had 10 minutes. The only other thing that I want you to look at is kind of, oops, I'm going backwards here. Why do we do what we do? And I want you to think just about just public health information. When kids should be playing outside and when they shouldn't on smoky days. Elderly people probably not outside at all on a smoky day. If you're working outside on a smoky day, yes, you can work outside, but you might need to take breaks. And if you have any underlying health conditions, it might be more so for you. Drink lots of water, go in your vehicle, put it on non-circulating and do things like that. And if you're exercising, probably smoky days aren't the best days to exercise outside. So inside, try, I know on hot days, it's usually a smoky day. Close all your windows and doors. And we'll show you how to make a DIY air cleaner. But how'd I do? Did I make it? Perfect. So that's a lot to think about. you have my contact information. If there's someone from the town that I could have a contact, even if you guys would consider it, to go around and look and scout at some locations. Sometimes we work with people in parks or other things, and it can take a really long time to pick a spot. The last one I picked took about 18 months. We pick a spot, then town council looks at it, then someone doesn't like it, and then we do it all over again.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. I just was thinking about the vandalism with that sitting there, you know, kind of a cool little shed with a whole bunch of gadgets on it. Where, do you have any problem with that?
Not really. So we do put fence around, like a chain link fence. We're not allowed to put barbed wire on it. Some towns let us, some don't. So we've stopped putting barbed wire. We do have surveillance on it. So right now I could tell when they were mowing the lawn in front of the one I had in Brooks, it tells me. So the only time I ever had a vandal on this one was before we did the artwork on it. And we as soon as I put up the security camera, I got hit with a paintball, and then nothing after that. So I think it helps when once you kind of put the wrap on it and stuff like that, it makes it less likely for it to be vandalized.
The paintball was just because of the challenge of
I
getting the light.
I thought, why did I get this camera?
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
right on. Any questions? Any, Councillor McNeil?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I know that I used to live up by Wubmum and then, of course, near the West Central Airshed Monitoring Society. But I just wanted to mention that I find that the meteorological data, like to have that weather data, especially if it was in the valley, that would be very helpful. Because our current Environment Canada station is up on top out by East Cooley. So I think that's an added benefit as well. And then the real-time monitoring of all of that info is great.
Download some of the historical data from your Purple Air. It will have wind and relative humidity on there because it needs it to calculate some stuff. Depending on where it is on the building, I'm not sure where it's cited. It could be good or not good information. Okay.
Councillor Zrisky?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think we are relatively fortunate in Drumheller with our air quality. I know lots of places in the province can be quite smoky, and we're not here. I remember being in Hong Kong one time, and their warning basically was, "Don't go outside." Like that's how bad the air was. So we're pretty fortunate here. Given that Drumheller is now the third most popular tourist destination in Alberta, we have lots and lots and lots of tourists coming here every summer, and a lot of their recreation, of course, is outside. So I think the more information that we can give them in terms of air quality, and is it safe to go hiking in the hills today because it's kind of hazy out there, I think that would be very, very good. So thank you for this information.
Yeah, we can steer them towards the museum instead on those smoky days. Having safe havens and stuff like that. Maybe on a smoky day, you could think about rec centers and stuff being open at lower prices and stuff and trying to get people filtered inside to public areas.
Right on. Anybody else? Any further questions? Can I get a motion then? Councillor Cloughlin?
I'll move the council accepts the presentation from Palliser Airshed Society as information and direct administration to bring further information to a future meeting for council's consideration.
Perfect. Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Zrisky? All in favor? Okay. All in favor. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. I'll just talk to Angela about contacts then.
Actually, through the chair, it would be Caleb that through our infrastructure services department, they actually look after our parks department as well. So he's your best bet.
All right. Mr. Zier, you can introduce our next one.
Good afternoon, Council. It is my pleasure today to introduce the first of two delegations. This first one is from Sandra Thompson, the owner of Fossil World. So the delegation today is the owner of Fossil World located on First Street in Drumheller, presenting concerns regarding proposed new controlled parking regulations. The delegation will outline impacts on businesses and homeowners that request request that council consider these effects in communication with the proposed new control parking bylaw 15.26. So if Ms. Thompson would come to the front here, she can present.
Hello, Council. I'm representing more so the residents because the concerns have been brought up by everyone living on the street. Information has been forwarded to you all about the residents and the parking and the objection to any commercial parking. They want to keep it back to residential only, and I'm for that too because we all live on that street and want to keep it just for residents. There is ample parking at the side in front of the world's largest dinosaur and at the consortium, and also street parking for some areas for tourism. So if you look at your letters that you received, I am against any changes to the parking for any commercial use, just residential.
Is that it?
Any question? Any questions on that?
Got any questions? Councillor Miller?
Thank you. Through the chair. As a business owner yourself, an owner of a business on that street, I was wondering if you're concerned about the impact of a lack of street parking on your street, on your property value of your business.
As a resident, I live on First Street myself, and I just don't want to see the commercial parking because it will bring the property values down. If someone's allowed to bring trailers and all that, it doesn't allow any of our guests to park. And residents have brought a concern to us that they want to keep it just as residential. We all live there, and we have 13 members that live on First Street that have signed a petition stating that too.
Councillor Miller?
Okay, thank you so much. So just to confirm, as a business owner, the possible decrease of your property value as a result of not having street parking for your customers is not a concern to you then?
As residential or commercial?
Commercial.
Commercial parking. We have adequate parking at the dinosaur beside us and at the consortium. I'm not concerned. I prefer it to be residential.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions? Okay, can I get a motion then? Councillor Zarisky?
One other question I did have, did you each receive forwarded information from all the residents that? Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we did. Councillor Zarisky?
Yeah, I move the council accepts the presentation by Sandra Thompson of Fossil World as information.
Thank you. If you get a seconder, Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Okay, all in favor. Carried. Thank you. Mr. Zier.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Council. The second delegation today I'm pleased to introduce is the owners of Valley Ice Cream Shop. Located at 121 First Street West in Drumheller, the owners would like to present concerns regarding recent changes to property classification and proposed new resident-only controlled parking regulations. The delegation will outline impacts on their business operations and property values, and request that council consider these effects in consideration of the newly proposed controlled parking bylaw 15.26. So today I have both Sean Pallison and Wayne Lorenz representing the Valley Ice Cream Shop.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. We appreciate the time and the inclination of council to hear the information that we're going to be sharing today about parking on First Street West. I'm not going to take up the 10 minutes. It won't take that long. But I do want to give you a little bit of an overview, and then we'll talk about specific parking aspects. So we started our business in 2024. We came to the town and asked questions of development. Antonia was on maternity leave. There was 2 different development officers at the time. So we did receive the business license. We got the permits for the repairs on the building. The handicap parking outside stayed up for a while, then it was removed, and we got 15-minute customer parking, which was great. It didn't affect the houses in the area. It didn't affect Sandy's store, which faces Riverside Drive. It was fine. Everything was fine. We consulted the DARP. Area 3.1.5 indicates that First Street West is a green street, which is to include planting and benches every 30 meters. So we took that into consideration when we were landscaping. We put benches out for people. We were trying to follow the policies that the town had planned for. The tourism corridor from the Dinosaur to downtown is First Street West. It's downtown. The house at the time was commercial residential, like all of the buildings downtown. We basically converted a derelict property. We took 11,000 pounds of newspapers out of the basement just to do the home inspection. That was a lot. We overwhelmed the recycling facility in town. We took 40 trailer loads of garbage out of the yard. The neighbors next door that had lived there for 17 years had no idea there was a shed back there because they couldn't see it. We took another 30 truckloads of garbage to the dump. We landscaped and followed all of the indications that we had received from town, from development, and moved forward with the business. In May of 2024, we opened. We went back and forth a little bit with development. And when Antonia came back from maternity leave after the summer, we spoke with her to look at, or to clarify some of the confusion that we had, because we spoke with Reg, we spoke with the 2 different people that were covering from her, or covering for her. But at that time, the perfect storm happened. The bridge construction started, and they closed access to the bridge from Riverside Drive. All of the traffic was directed from the Dinosaur up First Street West around the corner to get onto the 2nd Street West to get across the bridge. It wasn't ice cream traffic. It was tourism traffic. In the summer, we made 1 call to bylaw regarding a very large truck that was holding a lot of portable outhouses. That was for the bridge construction that parked in front of our business. It was gross. The response we got from bylaw was that parking on First Street West is not a priority, would not be a priority, and resources would not be expended. I didn't call bylaw again. In fact, Wayne actually had a conversation with Trent, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about that.
So, I'm sorry, Trent, I don't know your last name off the top of my head, but we had a conversation in the shop and about parking and how parking would work, and the street being so busy, because we were concerned as well about how busy that street was. It was in consultation with him, he suggested, in his opinion, the best course of action would be to create a 15-minute parking zone in front of our shop, and that be extended to the corner, all the way to the north corner. So that would be where Fossil World is. He suggested that the best course of action, if we just made that a 15-minute spot, it would be a lot easier for them to control. I do believe he approached Ms. Thompson about that, and she declined because she also lives in between the 2 stores. So she declined and didn't think that was a good idea, and he respected that, and obviously the town respected that. And so the 15 minutes was just in front of our building. That's it. Then.
So we don't presume to make suggestions for the other residents on the street. We think that people should be able to park in front of their house. We know that when there's Dragons games, the street's busy. We know that tourists are trying to avoid the paid parking by parking on the street. They don't realize that there are signs on there because sometimes they're a bit hidden by other cars. We're just looking at a solution for our business. So in October of 2024, Antonia returns from maternity leave, and it was like a breath of fresh air. Somebody who knew the rules, who knew what needed to be done, who looked at everything that had happened and said, you know what, they should have suggested this. You should change the designation of the building to commercial with a rental, like all of the buildings downtown, and you would have the same rights as those buildings. The town actually deferred the cost of that change because they realized that we had gone through a lot of different processes to get to that point, and we made that change. 15 days later, council met without consultation, without any notification, and had all of the parking on First Street West made residential. And then they included no exceptions. We weren't told. I probably should follow more council meetings because it's kind of interesting, but I didn't. I was busy. I have 2 businesses in town. We found out in April when they took the signs down for 15-minute parking, put the residential signs up. When I asked bylaw what was going on, he said that my customers can pay and park at the Dinosaur, or they can park downtown and walk to our business. That's where I stopped. I just thought it's enough. I'm just going to focus on my business. So what we have done is we've created a business that employs locally, that sources locally, that pays living wages, that donates and supports different events, that sponsors events. We took a derelict house and we made improvements on it. We made a destination that people want to go to. So then what happens is I get my property assessment. And I saw that my property assessment, the property increased by $20,000. And I thought, okay, that's a good investment. I called Wild Rose Assessments because I was curious how the parking would affect it. I spoke with the person there. They took 3 weeks. They had to search to find another commercial entity that had only residential parking in front of it. They could not find one. The assessment for my property was reduced. It actually went down from the previous year. So my investment is being affected by the parking in front. Residential parking in front of a commercial business doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand Sandy wants to park in front of her house. She can park in front of her house, but why can't my customers park in front of my business, right? They're not going to park 3 blocks away. And what we're seeing now is bylaw targeting our business by only checking the vehicles in front of my shop. They're not checking the vehicles in front of the 5 Airbnbs on that street. They're not checking the vehicles in front of the houses on that street. They're only checking the vehicles in front of our shop. We feel like we're targeted. We've done everything we can to create a business that will support Drumheller. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents came as children. Drumheller's in my blood. It doesn't matter if you're here for your whole life or if you're here for a week. Drumheller's a great place to work and live. We're trying to support the community with this business. We're not trying to exploit tourism. We're trying to support tourism. We're trying to support the people that work at our shop. And we faced very strong headwinds. And we're not really sure why. I know in some cases why, but I'm not really sure why we're facing headwinds with the administration, because you support small business. A lot of you are owners of small business or have been, and we're trying to do the same. So if other people want to park in front of their house, that's great. They can park in front of their house, but why can't my customers pull up, grab an ice cream, and drive off? And that's all that I've got. I do appreciate your time, though. Do you have any questions?
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for coming and presenting to us today. So if I'm understanding correctly, what you're looking for is just for those 2 15-minute parking spots to be reinstated in front of your shop. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm not asking for anything for anybody else's property, just 15-minute customer parking in front of our property. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor McNeil.
Yes, thank you for coming and presenting today. The question I had is just around your municipal development permit. Were there any conditions regarding parking on that permit?
No, because there was 15-minute parking when we got all of the work done. So we were told afterwards, because we didn't include it on that, it was easily removed by the prior administration. We never thought that once they put the signs up for 15-minute parking that we would have to get something in writing to keep it there. It disappeared. We didn't know how to get it back. We sat on it for a year, and then we approached the new council, hoping that there would be, more support for small business.
I would just like to add to that if possible. Yeah, in fact, Antonia, when she came back and we redesignated everything and talked about parking, it existed. And so when it got changed after the fact without consultation, or I don't even mean consultation, without information from council that there was going to be a change, we didn't know to do anything further. She didn't know to do anything further. So the signs changed and then it was over. So we called right away as soon as we saw the signs were changed, and she was very apologetic and she just said, I'm sorry, but it's been made as a no exceptions policy or bylaw or whatever. So she did apologize, but by then it was kind of too late.
I'd just like to add, sorry, if you look at the bylaw, it says, residential parking only, no exceptions. So I would assume that's looking at our business, right? What other exception would there be? There isn't another business on First Street West. Sandy's business is on Riverside Drive. She doesn't have parking. Her customers are walking across from the park or the dinosaur. So it does feel a little targeted, especially now that bylaw has the resources to target our customers and ticket them. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that parking back. People will be able to come to Drumheller and have a positive experience when they're here. That's all we want to provide.
Any other questions? No other questions? And you guys are in, on that DARP, you're in that green, what's it called? The green zone or something? Green Street, right? Okay, well, we'll see. Nothing else? Nobody else? All right. Thank you for your presentation.
We appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you. Can we get a motion? Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. I move that council accepts the presentation from the Valley Ice Cream Shop as information.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Miller, all in favor? Okay, all in favor, motion carried. Thank you. Okay. All right, so now we're on to number 7. So our office of the CAO. This is Mrs. Kiambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. So my first item today is our council committee bylaw number 34.25 for third reading. So administration is presenting this bylaw to council today for third reading. It serves as a framework for council committees, creations and processes while ensuring consistency in governance and reducing procedural confusion. The bylaw was reviewed by the committee of the whole in March and has gone through first and second reading earlier in April of this year. At our second reading here, just this on April 21st, council did request some additional information regarding specific language attached in Schedule F to the bylaw, specific to the Municipal Policing Advisory Committee terms of reference. Administration has reviewed the requested section regarding the enhanced security checks that are required for committee membership, and the following is a little bit of clarity and the rationale from the Alberta Ministry of Public Safety and Emergency Services on that specific topic. So they do tell us that the enhanced security checks are required under Section 3, subsection 4 of the Police Governance Ministerial Regulation. It also states, they state that currently these security checks are being completed by the Provincial Security Intelligence Office directly at no cost to the municipality. As well, municipalities are not privy to the details of these security checks, and we just we're informed of the outcome of being cleared or not cleared. So considering this information and the added request by council for clarity, administration has made the following changes. We've revised section 4.3B to include, in accordance with the police governance regulation, remove specifics related to the enhanced security check and specify that security checks are completed by the province. We've also added a definition of the police governance regulation We've removed section 4.4 as it is unnecessary due to the revision of section 4.3B. We also made a couple other changes. We removed section 10.8, which mandated automatic appointment of council members as committee alternates. The absence of alternates has rarely caused issues and are appointed only for committees that require it. So therefore, administration does recommend that any future requests for alternates be considered and approved by council on a case-by-case basis. Additionally, we've added in section 30.2 to repeal the following bylaws upon third and final reading of the bylaw, which are all the ones that will now be covered by our new bylaw 34.25. And in the interest of brevity, we didn't attach all of the documents again. We are referencing the fact that the full agenda package from the previous 3 meetings, March 10th, April 7th, and April 21st, does have a copy of all of the bylaws that will be impacted, or repealed. Financial implications, there is no direct financial impact with this bylaw. The requirements for most boards and committees to submit an annual financial report or financial requests prior to September 30th of each year will just assist us in having more clarity and information for our municipal budgeting processes. This bylaw is in accordance with our pillar number 1 of our strategic plan, which is to provide sustainable services and to ensure municipal services are predictable, transparent, and supported by a resilient organization and long-term financial planning. Our public participation on this, the new bylaw and the framework will be communicated directly not only to the public through website updates, but we will reach out to all of the associations and organizations, those stakeholders, to tell them of these changes and have that conversation with them if there isn't an impact to them. So administration's recommendation is that council gives third and final reading to council committee bylaw number 34.25 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Any input? I know there's we talked about a lot of those changes, and they're all made now, so. Councillor Kalafa?
I just want to express my appreciation to administration in recognizing and bringing something like this forward that will build in efficiencies and make things, just easier and in the long run. Thank you.
It's a lot of work for him, for sure. Anything else? Nobody? Okay, make a motion. Deputy Mayor Hardy?
I move that council gives third and final reading to council committee bylaw number 34.25 as presented.
Thank you for that. Second, Councillor McNeil, all in favor? Okay, voice carried. Motion carried. All right. That's the first one, right? Now the next one. On to Appendix B, isn't it? Oh, that one up there. 7.1.2. You're on with that?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So our second item today is revision of our 2025-2026 council board and committee appointments. So back in November, council directed administration to engage with the Drumheller Standing Committee on Health to offer a representative from council be formally provided to participate with that organization. So that request is attached in Appendix B. That specifically provides the request for decision report with the discussion at that time. So the standing committee has accepted the offer, and so administration is bringing forward a required amendment to our 2025-2026 schedule of council board and committee appointments, as shown in Appendix A, to reflect our newly appointed member. Further information on the standing committee, its mandate and its development is provided in Appendix B. This is a committee that operates independently. However, it has direct alignment with our municipal priorities and ongoing collaboration, which we do with AHS and EMS. So council had given direction to formally appoint this council member to the standing committee. Therefore, administration is requesting council appoint a council representative today in motion, and that you direct administration to revise the schedule for this 2025-2026 term appropriately. Oh, sorry. One last comment. Financial implications. Pursuant to the council remuneration policy, council members are reimbursed for participation on approved boards and committees such as this in the amount of $50 per meeting. However, there is a maximum of $1,000 claimable per year. Therefore, the costs associated with the addition of this organization are already covered in council's 2026 operating budget. And again, this committee is in alignment with council's direction, as well as our strategic plan, pillar number 2. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Campbell. Any questions? Any points? Councillor Zaritsky, want to take it? Okay. Nothing there, then can we get a motion? Councillor Miller?
I move that council appoints Councillor Zariski to the Drumheller Standing Committee on Health, and furthermore directs administration to revise the 2025-2026 schedule of council, board, and committee to reflect the addition.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Deputy Mayor Hardy? All right, all in favor? Tom, no comment? Okay.
Yeah, just a quick comment, just an example of what the Drumheller Standing Committee on Health does. Next week is Rural Health Week in Alberta, and so the Standing Committee is actually going to do a barbecue for all of the staff at the hospital on the Wednesday. So we fund that and we provide that and we work that, and I think council's actually invited, but I'll be flipping the burgers. They're pretty good.
Right on. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? No? Okay. All in favor then? Yeah. Motion carried. Tom's got a new job, flipping burgers. All right. So, and then now back to Mrs. Campbell for our 7.1.3 for our council remuneration policy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So administration is presenting proposed council remuneration policy number P0126C. We had proposed this at the May 12th Committee of the Whole meeting, and that report is attached in Appendix C. Included in the policy were several improvements to our previous policy, LSC-03, which is provided in Appendix B. The committee did have some recommendations, wooden changes, which have been incorporated into the proposed policy being presented for council's consideration today. So those specifically were to allow for a monthly submission of per diems and expense claims instead of biweekly from the date of the expense being incurred, to change the period of post-election allowances effective from the day following election day to allow for claims for required orientation and training that occurs prior to our inaugural organizational meeting, to remove reference to sponsorship of community events from the new community support allotment that is proposed, to make council responsible as a whole for determining which community events will be attended by council within that new community support allotment rather than the mayor, and to correct the definition of FCM to reflect the actual name, which is Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and to increase the amount of childcare expenses permitted in the election year amount, which was increased from $100 to $200. And this is based on the actual claims All of these numbers and those proposed within that election year amount were reflective of actual costs which were incurred in 2025. So in consideration of all these recommendations, the changes that were made were reflected in section 4.3C, section 8.5B, and removal of the sponsorship of community events in section 12, as well revisions to 12.2 to make council responsible for selection of those community events as a whole, section 10.7, and schedule A specifically. Administration also revised the reference section to reference the new council committee bylaw, which was just passed just now. So that has already been updated in anticipation. Our financial implications of the policy today, there is an additional cost outside of the budget of $5,000 for community support allotment. However, for the 2026 year, the Office of the CAO Department will cover this cost under our operating budget. Strategic policy alignment. This is in line with our pillar number 1, which is to provide sustainable services, and specifically our strategic intent to have our financial and capital asset decisions being long-term and data-driven. Public participation strategy. So we will be informing the public by updating the Town of Drumheller website that they are able to view these council remuneration statements, which will not be bi-monthly now, but monthly, and that they are available for request, upon request, for any member of the public to view. So it's administration's recommendation that council adopts the council remuneration policy P0126C as presented. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a lot more administration stuff. Councillor Zersky.
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm wondering if we could or should consider something. We are in a bit of an extraordinary circumstance right now, and extraordinary for two reasons. Number one, we've got a mayor that lives in East Cooley, and that's what, 20 kilometers away from the downtown town hall. And we have gasoline prices that are skyrocketing, going through the roof. And I think it is maybe necessary for us to think about maybe some in-town mileage in an exceptional circumstance like this. And I'm thinking of if we could come up with some kind of a formula that if a counselor in the normal activity of their duties puts on more than 200 kilometers in a month locally or something, I mean, pick a number. I don't know what that number would be. That maybe they should be reimbursed, because I look at our mayor driving back and forth to East Cooley, like, holy mackerel, that's taken a lot of mileage and a lot of money in gasoline. So, and again, this is an exceptional circumstance. We may have a mayor from East Cooley again. We may have a councillor from East Cooley. The gas prices might go up to $3 a gallon or $3 a liter. We don't know. But I'm just wondering if there's something we could maybe think about there or look at. It kind of almost reminds me of kind of a COVID scenario. It's like everything is just extraordinary. And maybe we could look at that.
Well, thanks for that. That's definitely something that, that definitely comes up, and now with everything, going, well, it's with everything, right? I mean, it's the same as a vehicle. I mean, every time you go look at a vehicle, it's another $5,000. But yeah, no, that would be something we could look at, I guess. Anybody, anything else? Councillor McNeil.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Zarisky. I think that's a good point, a valid point in particular for someone who resides in East Cooley. And yeah, I think we need to then think on this and come up with a number for, the mileage or kilometers in a given month, say. Because, yeah, certainly, in particular for the mayor, there are a number of duties and activities in addition to all of the meetings that the mayor attends, and they typically take place downtown here in Drumheller. I also had one small housekeeping item that I wanted to mention in the policy, and it's under section 5.1. I think it needs to be modified because it does make reference to the Remuneration Task Force bylaw, but I believe that bylaw will be repealed. So I think if you take a look at that, we could then just remove the words in accordance with the Remuneration Task Force bylaw, and then say in accordance with the Council Committee bylaw number 34.25 that we just passed.
Through the chair, thank you for catching that. Yes, we will make that change. That's an easy change. We'll just, so in our recommended motion, it would be to adopt it as amended. Thank you.
Good catch. Anything else? I thought I had him earlier on one too, but I missed it. Anything else? Councillor Cloughlin?
I'm just curious if we can still adopt this policy as or as amended. However, continue to consider Councillor Zerski's idea.
So through the chair, are you requesting that the change in the mileage be instituted now? Or so would you like us to bring this back to the next meeting with some suggested wording? Or would you like us to adopt as is and then make a modification at a future meeting?
I think in consultation with our mayor, maybe administration could look at this and see what kind of a formula might be applicable. I guess I'm also looking at our, what do we pay for mileage?
Through the chair, so we follow for administration as well the provincial rates that are listed, which I believe right now are 72 cents a kilometer. Is it less than that? Oh, teams, 57 cents a kilometer.
Okay, so we could look at that, or we could look at gas allowance, or you know what I mean? So if you and the mayor and administration kind of mull that over and maybe come up with some ideas.
Sounds good. So through the chair, I would then recommend that we move forward with the adoption as is, and administration will bring forward some suggested wordings after we have a chance to discuss it.
You look like you, Councillor McNeil, you look like you got the recipe there.
Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, I will just move that council adopts a council remuneration policy number P0126C with the following amendment to section 5.1.
Thank you. Okay, get a seconder. Councillor Miller. All in favor then? All in favor, motion carried. Thank you for that. Thank you for keeping that all sorted out there. All right, on to the next ones, which is seniors supportive advocacy update. This is Campbell.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an addition or a request of actually one of our counselors to add this to the agenda today. So I will provide a little bit of introductory information, and then I will hand it over to our representative on council who's with our Drumheller and District Seniors Foundation to pick up the presentation. So for over 14 years, council has been advocating the provincial government in partnership with the Drumheller and District Seniors Foundation for the construction of a supportive living level 4 facility, or SL4, in the town of Drumheller. Despite our persistent efforts, the foundation was informed earlier this month that their most recent application to the government's Continuing Care Capital Grant Program, specifically the new capacity stream, was not selected for funding. And this is presented in Appendix A. Appendix B lists the 11 facilities and communities that were successful in receiving funding through the program. Administration requests that council provide guidance to us on continued advocacy efforts moving forward. We do also have attached in Appendix C the advocacy letters from mayor and council that have been sent to the Minister of Assisted Living and Social Services, as well as copied to MLA Nate Horner, and another one copied to our Premier since December 2024. With that, I will pass it over to our Councillor Zarisky. Thank you.
Should have a look. Those letters are on there. Our advocacy letters are all in there too, and that's we've been trying. We've been trying to get this thing solved. So, Councillor Zarisky.
Take off my council hat, put on my chair of the Seniors Foundation hat. Thank you very much. The Drumheller District Seniors Foundation has been advocating on behalf of the town of Drumheller for many, many, many years on this issue. Just a little bit of background about the Seniors Foundation, established by ministerial order in 1960. And the simple way of describing it was to establish the Sunshine Lodge. And I kind of somewhat facetiously suggest it was basically to build a facility where the retiring miners coming out of their dirt floor shacks in East Cooley could go to live. And that was literally many the people who lived there. Like what to do with these people? They're 85 years old. They could not live on their own. And so Sunshine Lodge was built, and it was full actually quite quickly. The vision to lead the community in age-friendly, home-like accommodations. So again, the lodges are basically home. And this is the place where these people live. It's not an apartment, it's a home. It really is. And to ensure that they have a high quality of life. And that's a huge part of this. I mean, you can have people live in places and their quality of life is not very good. But the Seniors Foundation prides itself on creating a very high quality of life for all of these people. Dignity, respect, choice, collaboration, integrity. We look at it as basically giving back to these people who gave so much to create this community that we have, this province that we have, this country that we have. I mean, these are the people that created the high standard of living that we have, and we enjoy it. And now these people need our help, and so that's basically what the Seniors Foundation does. So yeah, incorporated 1960, over 63 years. Now it has expanded. Traditional lodge was, again, Sunshine Lodge. Now we have over 190 units. Basically Sunshine Lodge, Hillview Lodge. We have cottages, villas. We actually manage the manors as well downtown. Those are actually owned by the province, but we manage those. We've built onto Sunshine Lodge. We built 100 wing, 200 wing, 300 wing. Now we just recently built the 500 wing. And again, it just kind of extends. Just to give you a little bit of what the supported living is, the SL supportive living qualifications is different levels of care. So where it says SL1, that is pretty much kind of independent living. So these people are seniors, but they're fairly independent. I mean, it's kind of like living in a condominium. I mean, you have somebody cutting the grass, you have somebody, taking, if the elevator breaks, they fix it and that kind of stuff. That's the SL1. That's the manors. That's the cottages, the villas. Then we have SL2, supported living. And this is where you have people who basically can't live on their own. Some could, but a lot really would struggle living on their own. Then the SL3, again, that is a little bit of a higher level of care. These people need a little bit more care and attention. They can't get out of bed. They need help getting out of bed. They need help getting dressed. They need help making sure that they get fed. And then you get to the SL4, which is, again, another level up, another level of care. This is like a 2-level transfer person, or pardon me, a 2-person transfer, things like that. It's just another higher level of care. Then they have what's called SL4D, and that's basically fairly extensive dementia. So the manors that we manage in town are SL1. Sunshine Lodge, again, is SL2. Hillview Lodge is the SL3, and we don't have an SL4. We skip right over to basically the hospital, which is continuing care. We did a needs assessment 2018, and these numbers are actually fairly accurate considering this was done, many years ago. It's actually fairly good. So independent living, 75, current availability 77, 2026, 100, 105. We have actually added with the 500 wing on Sunshine Lodge, that's independent living. So we've actually added 8 units onto that. So we actually have 85. What's that? Yeah. So we're getting close to independence. Supporting living level 40. We got 78 units, so we need 60, 65 up to 85. So those are pretty good. Level 3, again, that's Hillview Lodge. We need about 36 or 30, 40. We're pretty close there. And where it falls apart, of course, is the supported living level 4. Was indicated in 2018, we need 60 to 65. To 2026, we need about 80. We got 0. And I shouldn't say 0 because the hospital now does have an area that they are putting people who are at the SL4 level in. It's not technically an SL4, but it is an SL4, but it isn't. It's hospital. And so the construction costs, you have to understand when we're doing these projects, the construction costs are pretty high. They're not like building an apartment building. This is more like building a hospital. And you can just imagine the cost of building a hospital as opposed to building an apartment building. So the SL4 and supported living areas for seniors has higher and higher expectations and qualifications and building codes is what I'm getting at. So the cost is quite a bit more than simply an apartment building type of building. So the one that we're looking for and we've been advocating with the provincial government on for many years is this level 4, enhanced assisted living, medical needs, care is managed on site. And this is actually in association with AHS, or now it's ALA, Assisted Living Alberta. It is actually their facility. So they basically run it. And we have been asked to manage it. Just like the Hillview, which is SL3, that's our building, but it's basically an AHS facility, and we have contracted with them to basically run it. And so that's what we were looking at with the SL4. The mandate of the Seniors Foundation is not necessarily to do an SL3 or an SL4, but we have, because we are in contract with AHS right now, we have agreed to do this. So this is why we've been lobbying. We've been the main fundamental head of the spear on this for Drumheller for the last number of years. It started back in 2008. We identified this, and where we identified it, we had many families lobbying council, lobbying the mayor, lobbying the town, lobbying everybody because their loved one basically couldn't live in Drumheller anymore. So they're born and raised in Drumheller, lived here 70, 80, 90 years, and all of a sudden now there's no room at the inn, you go live in Hannah. And we had numerous instances of that were very traumatic for the families. And these people could have been very well served in an SL4 facility. We had no SL4 facility. So they got shipped to Hannah, they got shipped to Three Hills, they got shipped to Red Deer. Some of these people, I mean, they didn't have family. They had a partner who didn't drive anymore. So it was just terrible, terrible. And that has gone on literally for years. And we've had many, many families lobby the provincial government, lobby AHS, lobby council, send letters to ministers. Like in your package, there's a couple of letters. Well, I have a stack of probably an inch thick of letters like that from families, from the board, from me, from the mayors, from the, anyways, on and on and on and on. We've asked to renovate. They said no. It was actually funded and approved. The original SL was funded and approved by the NDP government for $7 million. Well, then there was the election. And so that was kind of scuttled. Then we actually met with the UCP government, Minister Pon, and they came up with another funding. Yeah, they said, okay, well, we'll come up with 7 million. Now, this was a couple of years later, and the 7 million was kind of suspect at the time, but they did manage to do that. And Minister Pon even came down to Drumheller and announced the project. So Minister Pon in Hillview Lodge, taking pictures, announcing the project. Well, then COVID came along. And you know how the supply chain affected the cost of everything with COVID. Everything just went crazy. So we were in the process and we were putting money into the SL4 project. But we wanted to also renovate the 500 wing at the same time, because the 500 wing was one of the old wings of Sunshine Lodge. That was one of the original old wings. The rooms are very small. They don't even have full bathrooms. None of today's seniors. The old miners didn't care. They were good with that. They had a floor, they had heat, they had water, they were good. But the modern senior, I'd kind of like to have a shower in my room. Anyways. So we actually were doing that, and we thought we'd have some cost savings because they'd build the SL4, we'd build the 500 wing, have the same construction company, same engineer, same architect, etc. And then they delayed. The costs went up and up and up. So it finally got to the point where we used our money, built the 500 wing, and they said no. The 14 million for the SL4 was too much cost per door, and that was way too expensive. We actually did an independent cost analysis of the project. So we got an independent engineering firm to do a cost analysis, and they came up with 13.5 million. And that was actually a little bit of a reduced scope from what the original project was. So that's basically what the cost was. And the government basically said, no, that's too much. And oh, by the way, send us that money back that we sent you, and make sure you include the interest. Thank you very much. So this is the proposed SL4 building. Approximately, this is what would look like. The latest result is we have applied for the latest funding proposal, and the province, and I think you got that in your package, all the information of where all the money went. Basically, it all went to the urban centers. And their argument is logical. I mean, they say, well, we can build a 100-unit SL4 center in Calgary for $300,000 a door. We're going to build a 26-unit SL4 center in Drumheller, and it's $450,000 a door. And we go, well, yeah, that's because it's Drumheller, and everything you build in Drumheller is 15 to 20% higher. And also because it's a much smaller building, it's a much smaller scope. So anyways, that's their justification. So we are at the point where we are lobbying our MLA. One thing we're doing, we are setting up a meeting with Assistant Deputy Minister just to go over our application and see why our application was not successful. They do have another intake in the fall. And so we are going to apply again. This will be for the 4th time. And that's what the foundation is doing. Now, we seem to be unsuccessful, and quite frankly, we're getting a little tired. We are doing this on behalf of Drumheller. This is not necessarily the best thing for the foundation. I mean, we could use the land that we have set aside for this SL4 and build some seniors accommodation there. that we could use, and it would be sold very quickly. But that would not be what we feel is the best thing for Drumheller, because Drumheller desperately needs an SL4 facility. That being said, I guess I challenge everybody as to what are you doing? Because as I say, the Seniors Foundation is getting tired. We've been banging our head against this brick wall over and over and over and over again, and not really getting anywhere. So I guess what I want to say to council is, if you want an SL4, you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to do something, because we are getting to the point where we've just about run out of gas. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thanks for that, Councillor Zarisky. I know you guys are passionate and you guys are, like you say, getting tired of the refusals. I know I wrote a letter. I don't know what else. Do you have any direct ideas of what could? I know nothing's working so far, but I mean, do you have any direct ideas of what kind of things we could start doing? Church groups? Could we start doing, getting the bus loads of grannies going to Edmonton and protesting, or?
I've actually got the former mayor connecting with our MLA kind of as we speak. She has some considerable influence, and so she's going to follow that up a little bit. The one thing I hesitate to bring up, but the reality is, when we do these projects, very often they say, what is the town putting in? And the provincial government likes to see some skin in the game from the town. And quite frankly, we've been a little disappointed that the town has not stepped up. When we, for example, the Seniors Foundation were acquiring the hospital property, we acquired a fair chunk of the old hospital property, and we asked the town, would you donate that to the foundation? And then in our applications, we could put in, hey, no, the town is putting in the land for this project. And the town and council refused, and the Seniors Foundation had to purchase that land. So as it stands right now, unfortunately, when we get asked that question by the provincial funding people, what's the town putting in? Unfortunately, our answer is, well, we do the requisition, but that's not really the town putting anything in. So what I would consider is, if the town of Drumheller seriously wants and thinks that we need this, then that might have to be a budget item. There might have to be some money put in from the town, and the funding partners. Now we would go to Starland and we would say exactly the same thing. What are you putting in? What are you going to put into this? Partnerships, of course, the province really likes partnerships. And if we can say, well, this is a partnership now between the town and housing, that goes a little bit further. So something to consider there.
Okay, well, that's good with that. Anybody else? Any other questions for Councillor McNeil?
Thank you very much, Councillor Zarisky. Certainly do keep us up to date on that future meeting with the Deputy Minister Williams and what you learned through that discussion. I certainly did note that there were no rural municipalities in the list that received that funding. So it's just, I think that meeting is going to be pivotal. And I was going to ask if perhaps also a representative like the Reeve from Starland County, would he also be able to participate in that meeting?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess one comment to that is, we actually asked for and had a meeting prior to our application submission with David Williams and Jennifer Dolecki, just talking about our submission and our project and da-da-da-da-da. So what we're going to find out with now this subsequent meeting, I don't know. Like, we have meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings, and we have and we do, and
Thank you. Well, I can understand that you need some more support. So as a counselor, I'm certainly willing to offer my help with the advocacy. I like writing letters, so I can help you with that. And certainly, yeah, just help in any way that I can, just based on the experience that I have working with provincial officials. I do believe this is so important, and I was really impressed with your needs assessment. You know, it was completed in 2018, but the need is very clear for the SL4. So I think this needs to be a priority uh, for council. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you for that. Thank you for all your work on that. There 14 years of time in, you could say we got that much in, yeah. Yeah. All right, well, if we don't have anything else, just get a motion on that. Counselor Miller?
I move that council reaffirms the town of Drumheller's commitment to advocating the government of Alberta for secured funding of a supportive living level 4 equivalent housing facility.
Thank you for that. Seconder? Counselor Hanson? All in favor? Motion carried. All right, it's 6 o'clock. Why don't we take a little bio break here? All right. Okay, we're back. We're live in council chambers at 6:15. And we are on to our recreation and community services. So this is our 7.2.1, Mr. Zier.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mike Zier. I'm the Director of Recreation and Community Services. Today I'm presenting a few reports to Council. The first one is the Land Use Amending Bylaw proposal for second and third reading. So just a little bit of a summary on this application. Council's seen it a few times through the process here. This application is to rezone a small sliver of land from neighborhood district to employment district, and this is in the community of Rosedale. So the details are attached in the appendix here, both the key location plan, aerial photos, and the tentative plans. So as part of the regulations under requirements under the MGA, this has to go through 3 readings for a bylaw, as well as a public hearing to be held. And following this, there'll be a subdivision application that is put through our subdivision authority for finalization of that proposal. So just a little bit of details on what occurred so far. The public hearing was held on May 5th. There were no presentations received either in support or in opposition of the bylaw. And as the statutory advertising requirements have been met, as such, that statutory advertising requirements have been met. So now council can proceed with second and third reading of the bylaw. Some strategic policy alignment. This does fit underneath Pillar 3, promoting sustainable economic growth and development. The public participation strategy was occurred with the public hearing advertised in the Drumheller Mail on April 22nd and 29th and was mailed to adjacent landowners. As well, this proposed bylaw was posted on the Town of Drumheller website. So administration is requesting council to recommend that council give both second and third reading to this proposed bylaw.
Any questions, any input, anything there? Anybody? We've seen it a few times already, so can I get someone to make a motion then? Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. I move that council give second reading to land use amending bylaw number 04.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Deputy Mayor Hardy? All in favor? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, and then on to the third reading then. Councillor Hanson?
I make a motion that council gives third and final reading to the land use amendment bylaw number 04.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Deputy Mayor Hardy? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Well, that one gets that one cleaned up. Thank you. All right. Marigold Library is yours as well, Mr. Zier?
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So through the chair, so this next presentation is for the Marigold Library System Agreement Extension Request. So this is a little summary. The Marigold Library System provides regional library services across southern Alberta, serving 42 member municipalities. The town of Drumheller has been a contributing member of this through an agreement since 1981. The MLS is requesting the continuation of this agreement with a further 3-year term agreement. So if council recalls, the CEO of Marigold Library System did present the financials to the committee of the whole at the last meeting here. Pretty comprehensive presentation on the benefits that they provide to the to the community. So just some details on that. So the proposed agreement has been submitted with minor changes, including the clarification of services that MLS provides member municipalities, as well as minor changes to align with the MLS policies. This proposed agreement is suggesting an annual per diem rate increase incrementally for 2027 to 2029. So looking at that in detail, the financial implications will be to the town Currently, it's $675 per capita based on 7,909 residents. The proposed rates coming forward are $6.92 per capita for 27, $7.09 for 28, and $7.27 for 2029. So these account to about a 2.5% increase annually. As well, in addition, the Drumheller Library Board also contributes to the operations of the MLS, contributing at a rate of $4.50 per capita, which equates to 35,000 and change annually. So looking at the strategic policy alignment, this is falling underneath pillar number 2 of developing a healthy and thriving community. Basically, the public participation strategy is public engagements on this requisition are included with the annual budget deliberations. And the recommendation from administration is that council approve the execution of the 2027 to 29 agreement by and between the parties comprising the Marigold Library System by the Town of Drumheller as presented.
Thank you for that. Do we have any questions, any input, anything? Councillor McNeil.
Thank you. I'm just curious in terms of the population numbers, and I know that there is a federal census underway, but I just would like to understand when the population number will change, because I've also heard we're around 8,200 for a population. Through the chair, can administration provide any advice or guidance?
Thank you for the question through the chair. So how the federal census works is so they'll conduct it this summer, and then they'll have their initial announcements with increasing level of detail. But the very first numbers of count are normally provided in March, April of the next year. So depending on how the wording is, I believe the Marigold board utilizes the number of to do the billing at the end of the year. So I would suggest that any change in our population would be reflected come 2028. So in 28 and 29 for sure, we would note if we had an increase. We're also going to get that added increase on the rates. Yes.
Thank you.
Pretty hard to forecast our growth from.
Sorry, to add to that, because the province they use their own equations to do an estimate of our population. That's why we'll see those numbers that are over 8,000 like they do. In the absence of a federal census that normally happens every 5 years. There is the option for municipalities now to do municipal censuses again and to have that number as the number that's noted for at least the province. I can tell you from my own experience doing a municipal census that they are by far extremely more accurate instead of a federal census, just because you have that investment and the protocols control to keep going back on those houses that may or may not respond through the federal census process. So I've personally compared municipal census protocols versus federal census protocols, and municipal census is always a bit stronger, in my opinion, and the ability to get accurate numbers. So numbers are good on the population side when you're getting provincial money or grant monies, because there's a lot of grants that are per diem based. If we felt that there was, after this federal census, if council doesn't feel that it is an accurate representation of what we would expect it to be, I would highly recommend us doing a municipal census because you can also get additional information on about your population by doing a census. You don't have to only ask certain questions. You can ask whatever questions you wish. And there's a lot of examples out there. One of the best examples I know is the city of Airdrie. They do it every other year, and they do an excellent job of it. So just a little bit more information on census, but thank you.
Well, there you go. Who knew? Municipal census I've never heard of. You hear some of the things about the federal census, and you know people resent their intrusion on their privacy. I guess is the way you look at it. Anybody else? Anything else? Nothing else? Somebody make a motion. Ba-doom. Councilor Miller.
I move that council approves the execution of the 2027 to 2029 agreement by and between the parties comprising the Marigold Library System by the town of Drumheller as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Zarisky. All right, all in favor? All in favor, motion carried. There we go. All right, so now you're handling this one too, Mr. Ziert.
Okay,
You're on.
thank you. Thank you, Council. So the last report I'll be presenting today is the Starland Studios Film Festival request for sponsorship. So this is just a bit of a summary on this. The Starland Studio had submitted a community assistance grant application for the funding of the Starland Film Festival taking place in November 13th and 14th at the Napier Theatre in Drumheller. This application indicates that the event will showcase Alberta and global independent filmmakers, and their films will feature panels, seminars, and networking socials. So a little bit of the background on this. Starland Studios representative initially presented the request as a delegation at the March 10th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting. The Starland Studios was then advised to apply for the town's community assistance grant at the April 7th regular council meeting. This recommendation was made acknowledging that although the community assistance grant funding policy indicates that businesses are not eligible for funding, there was a potential that the funding could be allocated for specific projects that are directly tied to benefiting Drumheller Valley or that partner directly with existing community groups. Administration requested that more refined details from the applicant on how the grant funds would be utilized to ensure the connection to the direct community benefits. While the applicant responded that the event would provide benefits to the community, no direct link could be made to ascertain that application. While the application does not align with the guidelines of the Community Assistance Grant, there is a clear community benefit demonstrated by the event. So looking at some of the cost implications, and you can see in the attachments here the Community Assistance Grant application, as well as the funding request, and then just a reference to the actual town policy on this grant program. So looking at the financial implications, 9,000 financial support and 1,000 in-kind support for rental of the Badlands Community Facility. The funding of the sponsorship would occur from the 2026 Community Assistant Grant budget. This budget includes a maximum, so every year council puts money towards these grant programs. In 2026, there was 15,000 cash available and 30,000 in-kind contributions available for allocation. So there, to date, have been 14 applications for this grant funding in 2026, and there has been $3,460 cash awarded and $2,800 in kind. Currently, there is 4 applications waiting in abeyance that have not been a decision made on there. So you can see that in detail on the next page there. 3,460 allocated. The other applications, the Seniors Dinner, Drumheller Legion, Atlas Coal Mine Society, and Homestead Museum Society have all made requests for this funding as well into the cash allocations. So there's some strategic policy alignment that does fit underneath Pillar 3 of promoting sustainable economic growth and development. If the application is approved, the Starland Film Festival details will be promoted on the Town of Drumheller social media accounts. So looking at the recommendation from administration here is that the council approves the Starland Studios request in an amount chosen by council here in financial support for the 2026 Starland Film Festival taking place in Drumheller on the date shown, and to be funded by the Community Assistance Grant 2026 operating budget.
That's it. All right. Do we have any questions, any input? Councillor McNeil.
Thank you. I certainly did take a close look at the community assistant grant policy and then as well the application. And I felt that the eligibility guidelines are very clear, that community groups, nonprofits, charities, etc., are the ones that need to apply. There would be a disqualification when it's a business. And I notice on the application that Starland Studios, a business, is noted as the one that would receive the funds. And then as well, if this were successful. So that is a concern to me. There's a limited amount of funds that is available, 15,000 in cash for, so many groups to apply. And I guess that to me, I just personally don't feel that I am disappointed that the application didn't seek us a partner that is a nonprofit group. I think that would be very beneficial and helpful. I certainly am in favor of this film festival. I think it's a good initiative and it really fits with everything. But I just feel that it's missing that key link. Also, under the eligibility, when I was reading that wages or staffing costs would not be typically covered by this community assistant grant. And when I reviewed the budget that Starland Studios provided, I had the feeling, when I see $5,000 set aside for event staff or other items in the budget, it really sounds like staffing costs. So that's my input.
Okay. Thanks for that. Councillor Zrisky.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, the community assistance grant was designed a number of years ago to provide a way that council could set aside a budgeted amount of money for worthwhile community projects. Because what was happening is that we were getting inundated with requests. Every second meeting, we would have a group coming for money. And all of these groups were very worthwhile. All of the activities were very worthwhile. And our CFO at the time was like, where do we find the money? We come up with a budget for the year. And so if we're going to give money to these groups, where is that money? And so we set aside this amount of money, and the intention was to make it available to community activities, community groups, and I'm not sure the original intent of it was to limit it strictly to nonprofit organizations. I think the intent of it was originally to do things that were good for the community. How can, we have all sorts of people and groups, and people are doing things that are good for the community that need some help. And how could we help fund those? So personally, I'm not real stuck on this idea of, if it's a registered nonprofit charity society, wonderful. But I'm not real stuck on this. This particular event, I look at it as something that could be, significant in Drumheller for years to come. I look at it and the example I would use is the Cold Bones Festival that started off as literally, a guitar in the sandwich shop. And this last year grew to literally hundreds of people downtown at many different venues, generating thousands of dollars for the community at a time of year where there's not much going on in Drumheller in February. And so this to me is the kind of an activity that this could be bigger and better. And if you could just imagine, 5 years from now, we got international films coming into town, and that's the way I look at it. Is that it if the town can somehow come up with some money as this seed money, get this going, and kind of like Travel Drumheller, we had to put in, I think, $35,000 a year for the first few years to get it going. And then it started going, and now it's kind of self-sufficient. It's sustainable, and so that's what I would look at this particular film festival. Is that okay? Put in some money this year, maybe even put in some money next year, but maybe 2 or 3 years from now, it's generating its own money and generating considerable financial gain for the community. So I would suggest that we do come up with some money to help get this going, get this started. And again, ideally, it becomes bigger and better and bigger and better, and we don't have to fund it 2 or 3 years from now. But I would sure like to hope that we can get some money up front to get this thing going.
I agree. It's a great, I think it would be a cool initiative. How much do you think we should put up then? What kind of numbers are we looking at here? Go, Councillor Hardy, or Deputy Mayor Hardy.
I agree with Councillor Zarisky that this looks good for our community. I do strongly feel though that this still has to be within the community assistance grant. That is our allotted budget, and I don't feel we can go outside that budget for obvious reasons.
Councillor Miller?
And I agree with what Councillor Hardy just said.
Anybody else? Councillor Kalafa?
Well, a couple of things. I know that you're on Travel Drumheller, and I know that they used to have an event-based grant for things like this. Is that still available?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't, Travel Drumheller is going through a reorganization right now, and there was really not a lot of opportunity to explore that kind of a thing. I know what you're saying, and they did. They definitely did. They were very good at getting grants for things like that, and that might be something to continue to pursue for sure.
My understanding is they had their own grant program and things like Cold Bones and even an Oktoberfest a few years ago. It's worth exploring anyway, if there's other things. Looking at this, when we do look at the budget, are we looking at, like, when we do look at, progress of applications, literally only $500 left this year? Is that?
Through the chair, currently based on the applications we have to date, that is correct. If these are all successfully awarded. Those haven't been awarded just yet because we do try to do this through order of receipt. And however, we do have these that we will need to make a decision on. All of them except for the Atlas Coal Mine. I think that one will have to come to council because it's $5,000, but the other ones will be done by administration.
Okay, well, Councillor McNeil.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that certainly my mind can come around to the fact that, if council would like to then provide this funding to start on for this festival, I'm open to that. And certainly within our budget, what we have available, we do not want to go over it. I definitely do see the benefit with this particular festival.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, new council, new look at things, and we're just trying to make our way here. So I think it's maybe a little late. Councillor Claffa?
I guess going forward, when we look at a scenario that Councillor Zarsky lays out, that we fund something and then maybe next year, policy-wise, to make this align, are we going to open up this community assistance grant to entities that aren't community groups anymore? Or are we gonna make an exception this year? Or if we're gonna continue to support this project next year, do we expect them to be a community entity? I guess those are questions that I have.
Good questions.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So through the chair, just to reference Councillor Kalaffa's note, we already have planned to bring this policy back. We see quite a few gaps in there and quite a few opportunities to have a discussion with the new council here and see, have council provide a clear direction on the parameters that this grant program would actually meet. So that's where in the coming months, you'll see an application or an RFD for conversation around this policy and what you'd like to see for the 2027 funding opportunities.
Thanks for that. So, are we gonna make a decision, or are we gonna are we gonna have a proposal? We're gonna have somebody make a motion here? Councillor Miller?
Okay. I move that council approves the Starland Studios request for $500 in financial support for the 2026 Starland Film Festival taking place in Drumheller, Alberta on November 13 and 14, 2026 to be funded from the Community Assistance Grant 2026 operating budget.
All right, thank you for that. Seconder? Councillor Claffa? All in favor? Oops, you got something else?
Well, I was just also thinking about the in-kind contribution. It's not noted in the motion. Do we also need to mention about the in-kind? Because I'm in favor of providing in-kind support for a room rental at the BCF.
Well, that's a good point there, Mr. Zier.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification for council to answer Councillor McNeil's question. So we actually review the in-kind contributions for room rental as a cash donation, knowing that the room could be utilized for another renter. So we looked at as a monetary contribution on that. In kind, we look at more like if town staff are putting up barricades or potentially utilizing some of our salary or equipment. That's what we view as in kind. But the actual rental, we've done that for the last few applications here, really putting any room rental requests under the in kind contributions.
Sorry, just to add to that, Your Worship, part of the reason too we do this is for clear transparency purposes, because we do want to, we internally within departments, when one department utilizes the BCF space, for example, we do pay for it from one department to another to show that transactional cost and an actual payment from one budget, one payment to the BCF. So it is something that it isn't just a loss of revenue that wasn't realized because of a potential rental. It's actually an allocated cost between departments. So it's, again, just to show that transparency.
So is that I'm still, is that money and a room rental, or what are we saying? That's a,
Yes, we could do that. It could be the sponsorship amount plus the financial. If we know that the cost is for the room rental, we could add that to the value. but it would come out of the cost allocation side, not the in-kind support side of our two budgets. Mr. Town, did you have any additional comments? No? Okay.
Okay, all right. And anything else?
Well, I just wonder if we could amend the motion to also include that there would be an in-kind contribution, a value of up to $500. Just a consideration.
Sure, okay. All right,
My understanding would be that that would put us over the budget allocated then.
No, because they're the allocated funds for the in-kind. There's ample room in that budget line.
Yeah.
Mr.
just,
Zier?
Thank you. Sorry, just to clarify, so in-kind would be, so I'm just, sorry, trying to go through the application here as far as requesting, like marketing or printing or that sort of thing where we have the supplies on hand here or staff time to do that sort of thing. We have historically, at least in the time I've been here, utilized any sort of BCF rentals, costs. We put them into the cash donation side. Because that is, effectively taking away from that room from rental from any other user of that room. So we look at it as CEO Cuomo mentioned there, keeping the cost allocations between departments clean and clear on this. So there still is, if council looks at the breakdown of potential applications there which have not received approval to date. There is $540 left in that account right now. So if cash donation, including BCF rental space. And just for a high level review, depending on the dates, depending on the size of space required in there, it ranges anywhere from $500 to $2,500 for the rental space in that for the weekend.
So just to clarify, um, the motion on the floor currently is to provide a $5,000 financial support. 500. Thank you. 500 in financial support. Um, However, if we do want to incorporate an in-kind support amount, it would be for things other than the BCF rental. So if we, in the request, there was a recommendation or a request for marketing or print materials or that sort of thing. So if there is an in-kind approval, we could, council can choose to add that to the motion. But you would need to define it as an equivalent dollar amount of support, which would come out of the in-kind side, or a specific element of in-kind support. So those are the two options. If you want to keep the financial support amount at $500.
Anybody got anything to put in on that then? Nothing? We've already made a motion for the $500 contribution. Are we gonna stand on that, or are we, Councilor Zwick?
So what is the motion?
The motion was $500.
That's correct. Sorry, the recommended motion is as it stands on the RFD with the annotation of $500 in the dollar value. Is what it stands right now.
Okay, we've already said it, right? You've already, go ahead, Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just was thinking that I think the in-kind support, and now that I have clarity that it does not include the BCF room rentals, I would like to then propose that there would be an amendment to the motion to add $500 in-kind support, and that could provide support for printing and marketing.
That's your motion there?
Yeah, that's my addition to the on the floor.
So
Yeah, we've already got it seconded.
well, point of order, either Councillor Miller would accept a friendly amendment or rescind your motion and do a new motion with the additional. And it's up to you.
So my understanding is we're not doing friendly amendments anymore. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So no friendly amendment, sorry. But so I will retract my motion and make a new motion that council approves the Starland Studios request of $500 financial support and $500 in kind support for printing and marketing and advertising for the 2026 Starland Film Festival taking place in Drumheller, Alberta on November 13th and 14th, 2026. To be funded from the Community Assistance Grant 2026 operating budget.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Kalafa. Any more discussion? No?
Point,
What?
point of order, on the motion to withdraw, does Councillor Kalafa second that motion?
I second that, yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Okay, well, on to our next one. Mr. Peters, a 7.3, our emergency protective services. Wow.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, administration. My name is Greg Peters. I'm Protective Services Director for the town. I draw your attention to 7.3.1, Controlled Parking Bylaw, second reading. With me is Municipal Enforcement Manager Trent Cure. He is integral in all our day-to-day operations, especially with parking. May 5th, council proceeded with first reading of the Controlled Parking Bylaw 15.26. Council recommended changes. We've incorporated that into the second draft of the bylaw being presented today. We've also developed the tourist information handout, added to the communication strategies being utilized for the program. It was suggested by at least one council member. On May 5th, council provided feedback and recommendations for the proposed controlled parking bylaw to be amended prior to second reading as follows. Increase the cost of the hourly rate and add clarity that a payment in one controlled parking lot is valid in all controlled parking lots. So for example, if somebody was to make a payment at the Hoodoos and they moved for a different lot all day long there, wherever they go in a controlled lot, they're still free and clear what they paid at the Hoodoos. These recommendations, administrators have made the following changes. The hourly rate has been increased to $5 from $4, and section 4.2 has been added for the purpose of clarifying that a payment in one controlled parking spot is valid in all controlled paid parking spots. Tourist information handout, in addition to the recommended changes, and in discussion with communications and receiving their assistance, administration developed a tourist information handout that can be used by local stakeholders to conveniently share parking information with visitors Includes a map of all controlled parking zones and answers to some frequently asked questions that we come across in person, on the phone, other staff as well in the, that will be out meeting people in the course of their duties. We've added further research conducted into other parts of the community with paid parking near waterfront, other communities with paid parking near waterfronts and ball diamonds to help council reach an informed decision on adding controlled parking to Newcastle Beach and the rec area. No other communities were found to have paid parking at ball diamonds. However, Sylvan Lake, Banff, Canmore, and Lacombe County all have paid parking near waterfronts. In 2025, the paid parking program generated $229,000 approximately in gross revenue, which translated to a final net amount of $164,000, including fines that were levied that year. As reported earlier, administration showed that a 50% increase resulted in proceeds of $32,000. 40,000 in revenue versus 8,000 approximately in offsetting expenses. This was based on a linear projection and didn't account for potential changes in customer behavior and likelihood of parking for less time as the price increases. Strategic policy alignment, it is our belief that Pillar 3 is satisfied if we conduct things as we have so far, promoting sustainable economic growth in the community, fostering a resilient, diversified, and business-friendly economy, aligned with infrastructure and capacity and communal expectations. We will keep residents and visitors informed by maintaining our website with current information and utilize all available traditional and digital communication tools. We recommend council give second reading to this draft before you at this time, or I can answer any questions as well, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. Peters. Anybody got any questions? Councilor Zarisky.
Yeah, we've been talking about the First Street West parking. And the residents seem to want to have residential only parking on there. We've had reports and concerns that the signs that were put up is not necessarily deterring non-residents from parking there. And apparently some of the non-residents like parking there because it's paid parking, you know, around the corner and paid parking at the world's largest dinosaur. So we were kind of throwing around the idea of maybe making paid parking down that street. This would maybe deter some of the tourists from parking there, make it maybe more available to residents, and also available to people who want to, you know, purchase stuff at the businesses along there. I don't know, just an idea. I don't know what you might think about that, but.
No, if that is the wish of council, we could work to make that a reality. Residents would still be entitled to free parking on the street that they reside. We've had over the years numerous issues with tourists, and some decidedly disrespectful to the homeowners, the people, not to sound corny, but the people that pay the bills for the town of Drumheller. And they are owed some courtesy and not to be, you know, taken advantage of. We've had even people tourists have parked behind their houses because they've seen a vacant spot. Well, that's just decidedly wrong and disrespectful. I also want to state that nobody is being targeted by my department. Nobody is being, we're not lurking behind the bushes or anything. I'm being lured, but I'm serious. Nobody is being targeted or unfairly marked for enforcement action. We respond as we should, as fairly and as impartially as we can. We are not, we can recognize abuses and of the system and people operating with self-interest in defiance of the system. I just want to make sure that put my word on that. But if paid parking on First Street West, we could, as we did before, we could work towards carrying that out and do some preliminary work and speak to the residences, or excuse me, the residents on the street. Excuse me. We could. That's the wish of council, the direction of council. We could look at that. Yes.
Councillor Zawierski.
Yeah, one other comment. So in the winter, gets kind of cold. We have people that park on the street, and I've seen fairly many instances of people with extension cords coming from their building across the sidewalk, either laying on the sidewalk or looped over a tree limb or some sort of artificial cantilever over the sidewalk. I'm just wondering, my understanding was that is not legal, that
No,
is
it
kind of dangerous. And do we enforce that? And it was one of the things that I was, I guess, a little bit curious of with the people that park on First Street West and insist on parking on their front street. What do they do when it's 30 below? I actually used to live on First Street West. And when it was cold in the winter, I would pull my vehicle around the back and come in the back and then run an extension cord from the house to the vehicle. I didn't have to go across the sidewalk or anything. So I'm just wondering, do we enforce that? Because I sure seem to see a lot of it that.
No, sir. There is quite a bit of that. There's no way around it. I don't recall one ticket being written for that, but we will stop and ask people and caution people to not do that. It is a safety hazard. It is against the bylaw. We know that people are up against it. We know that they want their car to start. They got to go to work in the morning. We're not at all, blind to that fact, but we try to ask people to please not do that. Is there any other way around it? The odd person does, as you said, Mr. Zawierski, they will have something constructed over the sidewalk of a sufficient height so it doesn't, interfere with somebody walking with a carriage or towing a child on a sleigh or something like that. But we issue many, many warnings, phone calls to people to correct that. And it's nothing perfect. We don't like unless somebody was absolutely defiant or, discourteous about it. I don't recall, and neither does Manager Cure one time, but we have issued many, many warnings on that very thing, sir. I'm not saying it's okay, but we're trying to reach a happy medium and ask people to just please not do. We know they're up against it, but you have to meet us halfway at least.
It's good you're trying to be reasonable. So what would the parking enforcement procedures be like for, say First Street over there? I guess they had a 15-minute parking and now they don't have 15-minute parking and so what is the setup over there now?
No, sir, there was through the chair, excuse me, there was a 15-minute put in place thinking for the benefit of the business. But there were periods where that space was occupied verifiably by vehicles owned by the business owner, and longer than 15 minutes. And that is, there's no logical reason for that. We, of course, don't want a business, we don't want anyone, as far as we can manage our responsibilities, manage safety, and manage expectations of council and maintain the law, to be fair and reasonable. But the abuse of that spot, as well as a business owner putting signs on the street in contravention of the Traffic Safety Act, things of that nature that were done that were obviously known to be wrong and illegal, but were still done. We understand a business wishes to advertise and survive, and of course, but it was far away from keeping with any kind of fairness doctrine of that sort for that area. Some of the things going on. If the wishes of council for that spot to be reinstated, we will adhere to whatever the direction and the policy wishes we are sought to adhere to, of course. But the business has to meet us halfway, and we do not go out of our way to make it unduly harsh for anyone. Officer Cure would like to.
Yes, if I could just add to that, as far as what a patrol looks like on First Street West, you're going to see our officers go up the block from the most northern end to the most southern end. Officers often know which residents own which vehicles, so you may see us skip over a vehicle or two from time to time, and that just comes from experience. We do find that the vast majority of non-compliance with the residential only designation happens in areas on the most northern end of the block. That would be houses across from the ice cream shop or houses adjacent to it. But the entire street receives patrols.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, it's you know, it's an interesting area because of being that green space along there, and how, you know, it's got to be a mixed area of business and residential. I wonder if we, you know, as council, there should be some rules about, maybe we have to, maybe that's the part of the rules we have to relook at, is how, you know, we know when you move into a neighborhood and you have good neighbor things that you do, but and they're not written down anywhere. Maybe we need to do something up like that where a business and homeowners can coexist, because, you know, they both, you know, the business has spent money and efforts of getting landed in there, and you know, the neighbors have got their time and money in their properties. And you know, some of the neighbors were talking about people sitting around, and you know, there's garbage blowing over from the other place. And I mean, it could be as simple as you know, maybe the business sends somebody around to pick garbage up off the front yard that's obviously theirs, type of thing. Has something like that, a certain amount of time to invest in the neighborhood. I don't know. To me, I'm just looking for some ways to make it palatable for a mixed. The problem is it's a mixed neighborhood, is what it is, and it's got two different, you know, two different functions. So, you know, I guess that'd be something that we need to explore. Anybody else got anything? Councillor Kalafa.
I don't have the solution. But I guess our role as a body is to make legislation, make bylaws, policy that they're fair, based on principle. To me, be able to replicate it in a different area if the need has to be enforceable and legally defensible. This makes this bylaw to me sort of muddy because we do have this one exception. I understand the exception, I understand the neighbors' things, but nonetheless, there's no other area in town where there is a residential only parking area. And especially there isn't another area in town where there's commercial businesses that are covered by a residential only area. Downtown is thriving. There are some vacancies, but this is an area of business expansion. And so if we were going to look at a bylaw, I think we've got to look to the future, that, you know, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, how much more of that area will be commercial. And, you know, the good thing about bylaws and legislation is they can be fluid. We can change them, and I get some solace in this. But we got to make it, yeah, I don't know the answer. These are just, I've thought too much over the last few days about this. But we need to make it fair and based on a principle.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you. I agree with what Councillor Kalafa said. I would like to just confirm as well with bylaw. So residential only, that means Drumheller residents, right? Not just residents of the street?
Through the chair to Councillor Miller, you are correct.
Thank you. So that means that any customer or any resident who wants to patronize these, I believe there's 4 businesses on that street. There's 2 on the south end and there's the 2 on the north end. Any local resident who wants to be a customer of these businesses can still go and can still park in front of the businesses on the street. It's just the out of town customers who currently aren't allowed to park there, but we've got out of town parking lots. We've got the paid tourist parking lots very close by where those out of town customers can park.
Oh, yeah, there's two parking lots there, yeah, there's the one behind them and one over at the Big Dinosaur, that's for sure. Councillor Kalafa.
Just a question, because I looked up when we implemented this in, I guess, 2025. Is there anything done right now for the Airbnbs down there? Do they have window parking passes, or they just park on? Yeah. What do we do for them down there at this point?
Through the chair to Councillor Kalafa, people who are staying at Airbnbs, we recommend they speak with their hosts about making parking off the street at the rear of the property available, or purchasing perhaps a longer term duration parking pass and using one of our paid parking lots in the area. They're not exempted from the residential only designation, and we have seen occupants of Airbnbs receive violations in that area.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point. You know, like you say, that's because of it being a mixed area, that throws a whole different spin on it, because there's two, well, actually three when you figure the Airbnb in there. So, you know, I guess that's something that we should be looking at and seeing with other jurisdictions. We can't be the only one with this issue. Like, you know, it's new to us, but it can't be new to the world. Airbnbs and downtown areas and residentials have been joining up for years, right? So we'll maybe need some more research on this one, is all I can say. Councillor McNeil.
Thank you. And based on that last comment, I had done just a little bit of research, and I noted that Canmore, they have, for residents, this is just something that they have, resident parking permit for 3 hours in the paid zones. So that's something that they enforce there. So I don't know, food for thought. I wanted to just clarify as well, First Street. Are we just referring to the parking area from Riverside to Second Avenue West, one block? Or are we considering further than that? I just want to confirm that.
Through the chair to Councillor McNeil, you're correct. It is just that one block between Riverside and Second Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Just to add clarity on the resident only comment, it being currently resident only, communications has received just in the last few weeks a comment from a resident that there had went to and parked on that road and found a note on their windshield stating that they are not a resident and they must vacate from the location. It was not from our town enforcement. However, it was assumed that it was from one of the residents along that street. So although it is for residents of the town of Drumheller, there is potentially someone on that street who feels it's for residents of that street only.
I think that's a thing that people don't really understand, is that, you know, just because your house is there and you pay taxes there, it doesn't mean you have a parking spot in front of your house. It's the same in every big city, everywhere is you don't got a guaranteed spot in front of your house. It's you know, it's complicated. Let's just go there and just say it's complicated, and we'll have to that issue will have to be for further consideration. How about that? Anybody else? Anybody got anything else to add to it? Kate? Okay, one more.
Just because we just noticed it in the agenda package, just for added clarity, the schedules B and C to the bylaw, which have the maps identified to them, were missing in the agenda package. However, they're exactly the same Schedule B and Schedule C that was included in the first reading. So there are no changes to the locations that are listed in description in the bylaw. As well, they reflect directly with the previous Schedule B and C. Is that correct, Mr. Peters?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Essentially so, yes.
Councillor Kalafa?
I'm just curious, because I don't know myself, but is there appetite in Councillor Zerski's suggestion of making it paid parking around this table, or?
I think, I think I think it would be something that we could look at a little bit if we'll have check a few more things and see what else we could come up with, see if that's agreeable to them over there. But, I think let's find something better than that. Simple. I mean, it sounds simple, but if you already got people giving other people tickets. All right. Okay, so now, can we have a, a motion on this? A motion to not motion the motion? Counselor Miller, you gonna give it a crack?
We're just giving second reading, aren't we? Yeah, okay. I move that council give second reading to controlled parking bylaw 15.26 as presented.
Counselor Zarisky? You gonna second that? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Now we got traffic amending bylaw.
Yes, thank you, your worship. I will continue. Please, the council, I draw your attention to the traffic amending bylaw 16.26, 7.3.2 on the agenda. With the potential adoption of controlled parking bylaw 15.26, the provisions of the traffic bylaw 10.22 that reference paid parking and was in fact our enforcement section of the municipal policy must be removed or amended. First reading of traffic amending bylaw 16.26 was granted on May 5th at the regular council meeting. No changes have been made to the second draft of the bylaw. The proposed traffic amending bylaw seeks to remove three sections, if I may remind council, from bylaw 10.22 to align with the proposed bylaw 15.26. Sections, reiterate section 6.1, section 6.6, and section 6.7. We also recommend revision of section 6.5 of the traffic bylaw 10.22, which speaks to paid parking exemptions to be amended and included for interpretation purposes. All proposed changes of bylaw 10.22 are captured in Appendix B. At this point, besides some of our time, there's no other extraneous financial implications. And we believe this would satisfy Pillar 1 of our strategic policy, providing sustainable services, ensuring that municipal services are sustainable, predictable, transparent, and supported by a resilient organization, long-term planning, consistent and fair as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Looks like this is part of the same discussion. Councillor Kalafa?
I'll move the council give second reading to traffic amending bylaw number 16.26 as presented.
That's the spirit. Councillor McNeil, you seconded? Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right. All right, that's good. That's good there. Now, that's the end of our show. Is that it? We have our, closed session for 8.1, so, can I get a motion to close our meeting? Huh? You will? Okay. Deputy Mayor, Hardy?
I'll move that council closes the meeting to the public at 7:20 PM to discuss derelict properties report per ATIA 20, disclosure harmful to personal privacy, and ATIA 23, disclosure harmful to law enforcement.
Can I get someone to second that? Councilor Miller, all in favor? Okay, motion carried. Well, that'll be it for us tonight, folks. Thanks for coming out and be safe.